Good morning, Flosstube. My name is Laura, and I'd like to welcome you to Stitching by the Shore, my channel all about cross stitch. Every once in a while, we talk about something else crafty, but today it is all cross stitch, and I have quite a bit of it to talk to you about. I was really productive stitching this week. If you are new, I want to say welcome. Thank you so much for pressing play and giving my channel a try. I hope you like what you see, and you'll hit like and subscribe and all that good stuff. And as usual with my returning viewers, thank you so much for coming back, whether it's each week or how often you can come back and watch and being a part of my stitchy journey. I love talking stitching. I love interacting with all of you about stitching. And it makes me feel less alone in this hobby of stitching since I have no real life stitchers around me. It's nice to know that I have stitchy friends out there. You can tell I have a lot because you can see the top Ziploc bag with all of my stitching because it's all piled up right here. So let's just jump in because I have a lot to show you. I have a finish, I have some current projects I'm working on, and I have a start plus a second start/restart. So super excited to show it all to you. And let's get started with my finish. Prairie Schooler, it's 2021 Santa. Totally forgot the name of it, even though I've been stitching it for several weeks, but that's what I finished. And it's my second of the yearly Santas. Now this is actually, I had taped a bunch and then I had hit my phone, sent it flying and the whole bit. And so I'm redoing this. So I didn't refold this very neatly. So let me just fix that. I don't generally edit. I don't edit. So it's always one take and done. So we are redoing and going as we go. I just wing it. So there he is. Now what I did not do, and I did not do on the previous one either, no words. I didn't do the words, and there is a little dotted border all the way around, and I didn't do that either. I decided to keep it border free. And that's what it looks like. I haven't mentioned it in a while, but I did change Santa's face. Generally, the Prairie Schooler Santas, or faces in general, Prairie Schoolers, are a little bit too pink for me. So I do change the color of his face. I can't remember off the top of my head what it is. If you want to know, I'd be happy to let you know. So just leave me a comment. And then what I do for his cheek is whatever the color is called for the face is usually what I put for the cheeks, because that's pink enough for me for a cheek. And then whatever they call for the cheeks, I don't even bother with because that's usually way too pink. So that's the only change I've made on this besides leaving off stuff. And that's where he is. Now I did have to do a lot of back stitching. That was pretty much, I mean, I was almost done with all of the X's. So it was pretty much back stitching. I have found, this is 18 count Jade from Picture This Plus. And I have found that Picture This Plus for me, because I stitch in hand, is the hardest for me. It's probably the loosest of the fabrics that I use. And so it's been a journey for me to learn how to create the tension that doesn't completely pull this in all directions. I did find with the back stitch, I was kind of pulling a little bit too hard. I've gotten pretty good with my X's, unless I'm not really paying attention, where it's not a problem anymore. So I used to really run away from Picture This Plus, but now I don't mind using it as much because I've kind of learned a little bit more about what works for me with it. I suppose if you've got it in a hoop or a Q-snap, it really wouldn't matter. Also, what I did do with the backstitch, I know some of you don't necessarily like backstitching. I don't hate it. I'm not a big fan of how to start and stop it. I don't know I guess there's a pin stitch, I guess, with one strand. I never learned that. I don't know if I've even looked at videos with it. But a few weeks back, I had talked about a video that I had found from Needlebug that showed you how to stitch with one strand using a loop start. And I've been using that for one of my projects, which I'll show you in a bit, and I love it. So I decided, why not try it with the back stitch? Okay, I'm not making full X's, but let's see if it'll work if I'm doing the back stitch. And it did, and it made all the difference for me. except when I would cut the wrong strand and then it would just unravel. I had to be careful about that. But it worked lovely. So I was able to still loop start and do one strand of backstitch and just get that all on. So what I will do is, because I don't want you looking, I think it's 77, but I'm not 100% sure which video it was. I will re-link Needlebug's one strand loop start video down below. So you have a chance, if you'd like to, if you've not watched it, if you're newer to my channel, you hadn't seen that original, I will link it below if you'd like to see. It's worked beautifully for me, changed my mind about one strand, where I have to use it or when I'm using it, and it made all the difference. This is the second Prairie Schooler Santa I've done. I don't know if I have to look and see in my stash. I do have the booklet from a wonderful, lovely stitchy friend that was sent to me, that I have some Santas to work on, but I think these might be like the two individuals that I've got stitched. So this one was last year's, and again, you see I didn't do the border or any words, and then this is this year's. I think last year it said winter wind or something about wind. I have no idea how I'm going to finish them, but for me, it's the journey. It's the stitch. That's what's the most satisfying. So I don't worry. The finishing will come however I decide to do it eventually. I have lots of fabric left in this. So I am definitely, those Santas I have from the booklet are going on this as well. I love the Prairie Schooler colors on this Jade. And now that I feel more comfortable with Picture This Plus, excuse me, it's made all the difference. So that's my finish. Really, really excited and happy to get it finished. Now, I have some digital patterns to show you, so I'll do those in a row so that we get the usage of the iPad out of the way. I print my digitals in black and white, so I generally don't have a good picture to show you. This first one is from Stone Street Stitch, is their Etsy shop. I'm pretty sure I link it. If you go below the video in the information and you click on more, I talk about each project I talk about, and I say, the fabric and any other pertinent information. And if I remember, I do try to link, unless I got the, it's I don't 1, 2, 3 stitch or anything like that. I generally don't under the project. But if it's something where I can have an easy store link, then a lot of times I will. That's what it looks like. Cobblestone Crossing, Stone Street, one of my favorites as a company to stitch. Super easy to read their patterns and just fun stitches. And let me push this up a little bit so I can hold it with one hand. That's where I am. This is, what is it? Old West from Color and Cotton. I have my notes right in front of me because I would never remember these names otherwise. I might remember the company of fabric it's from, but I wouldn't remember the name. And last week, this house became a house. I stitched all of that red, maroon-ish red. What's funny is, so that's DMC 221. And in the skein, when you look at it in the skein, it's a brownish red, definitely kind of a dull maroonish. But I love how it looks against the white and then the darker colors and on this fabric. I did keep, it's not the called for, but I did keep what I used to stitch on similar to the called for, because I do like how the colors they choose, which this is a palette that's very common for them. I do like how those colors pop on these kinds of neutrals. So that's why I kept it on that. So I have one more house here to do. I don't think I could get it done in a week unless I really settled down and stitched on this. I really like it, so I might savor it for a few more weeks. And a lot of you have given me great suggestions for up here instead of the year. If I didn't want to do the year, I have no idea. So this might be when it's finished, maybe not 100% finished. We'll see. It might have to go away for a while for me to think about it. But I'll keep going on this one. I really like it. I can't recommend them enough if you've never tried their patterns before. Really, really like them. Now, let's go to a totally different color scheme. This one is from Jan Hicks Creates. She has an Etsy shop with digital patterns, and it's called Earth Laughs. I saw this one, and first, I've always loved the saying, the earth laughs in flowers, and I love the colors that she used, and it just drew me. Now, this is charted in Cosmo, and I decided, I've never used them before. Let's give them a try, because you know I generally just stick to DMC. In regards to the Cosmo, they're lovely, they're nice. Are they head and shoulders above DMC, meaning I'm going to stop my DMC? No, I like them, but in this is charted, she does give a DMC alternative, by the way. Once in a while, maybe it'd be nice to do them, but otherwise, I don't necessarily see me jumping all over the bandwagon and just stitching with them. I like my DMC, I gotta say. I'm a DMC girl. Here we are. That's what it looks like. This is a 20 count, so it's my very first 20 count, and it is 20 count ice blue from To Die For fabric. Now this is the project I was referencing before. Because it's 20 count, I do use one strand, and it was because of this project that I found the Needlebug video, and I have found and I have learned with the one strand about 9 inches, 10 inches tops is how long I cut my strand before it starts to fray. And that 9-inch mark seems to work really well. My goal this week was to get this whole flower thing done, and then I had most of the purple flowers, so then I wanted to get the greenery, and then I've started with the greenery here. Here you're going to see a beautiful yellow flower emerging, and then over here there are going to be 2 shades of really pretty pink that'll be emerging. So I'm super excited to give those colors a try, because I think it's really going to show off nicely against this blue, and it's going to help everything else pop off. And then with the border, I just do a little bit as I go along, just because I happen to like, I don't know with borders and stitching if you do the same thing, but I do like to reference my stitching with the border and where it is. So I don't necessarily do the entire border. This one would be scary to do the entire border. Because I would be afraid that I would count it wrong and have it completely wrong. So I did enough to start with the inside, and then I will continue back and forth, you know, sideways and down, whatever. I will continue with it as I get the stitching done. And that's what works for me. I'd be curious which way you do it with borders. If you just do it all ahead of time, or you do it along, or does anybody do them last? I don't know. But that's mine. And I'm really, really enjoying the colors with this, and I like the 20 count. It is smaller than the 18, obviously, but I can still see it okay. It's not so small that I'm having trouble. So I would use 20 count again, especially now that I know how to do the one strand loop, because that was what was holding me back. It was not knowing how to start and stop properly and in a comfortable way. So now that I know that, there's no stopping me. One more digital. Now we're going into some of the fall colors. And this one is a bright fall color. Autumn Lane Stitchery. Did you see the pictures, I think, on Instagram? They had the little baby. They had their baby. Adorable. Autumn Lane Stitchery, Autumn Towne is what this one is called. And if you are new to this pattern, all that green that you see is actually the fabric stitched on. So that is unstitched. Everything else is stitched. And put that down. That's where I am. This is 18 count. Everything else is 18 count that you'll see today. And it's called Fallen Leaf from To Die For Fabrics. It is a bit brighter than what their called for green was, but I put the colors up against it and I loved how they looked, and it really, I think it really helps bring them to life. So I'm super excited to choose this. I worked on, there's going to be another house here that's a couple colors. Right now it's not really showing up as multiple colors, but there is. Worked on some more of the greenery here. I also happen to, with things like trees, I like to do the branches and then fill in the color from there. So that's what I started to do with that. And Each of these, again, like I had mentioned, I think last week, I treat some of these as like a little finish. So if I can get a little bit done here and there, then that satisfies my little tiny goal with how I will plug away at something like this, which is a lot of stitching in small places and not be overwhelmed. But what's interesting is this is your bright fall colors, and I love my summer stitching. I could stitch in the middle of winter with summer. I don't think I would, want to give up my summer stitching, but fall colors are some of my favorites. And so I'm definitely feeling excited to stitch more fall. And what I did, which is interesting, and I purposely put them, this one and then the next one after the other, was to show the complete and utter difference of color palettes. They're both fall color palettes, but in completely different ways. This one is definitely the bright color palette. The next one is going to be much more subtle. And I love them both. Everybody seems to have something about stitching that they really like, whether it's the finishing and the finished project, maybe it's the stitching part of it, maybe it's the adventure of changing things. There's so many different things that can bring you satisfaction when stitching. And for me, one of the things that I love is playing with color and looking how color can change things completely. And that's what this next contrast shows. So I'm gonna put this here for a minute and show you this, and then just show you two different color palettes. Totally both scream fall to me, but in completely different ways. And it is so fascinating how you can look at things and just have that completely different look. This is a Plum Street Samplers, so you know right away what color palette it would be. It's not Cinnamon Stars, it's Betsy's Autumn. I think last week it was, when I was showing Cinnamon Stars, I talked about how I felt a little guilty that Betsy's Autumn had not gotten a lot of love and stitching time. And I actually started Betsy's Autumn beforehand because I actually, it's like picking your favorite child, picking your favorite pattern always, but I think I prefer this one to Cinnamon Stars for some reason. I think it's the flowy trees. Although Cinnamon Stars, you do have that row of stars coming from the chimney, so it's kind of that same vibe. But I decided to pick this one up instead of Cinnamon Stars, just to give it some time, because I felt like it hadn't gotten much lately. It is the same base fabric as Cinnamon Stars, because they're very similar color palettes in and of it themselves, and I really liked that, which is why I purposely put Cinnamon Stars on this fabric. This is Honey Amber. Over here is just border, so I'm going to fold that over for now. Honey Amber from Fabrics by Stephanie. It is a lovely type of yellow, kind of a butterish yellow. And I love how the colors really shine on this for this kind of color palette. I concentrated this week on the house. I did all of the house plus some of the window and a little bit more of the roof, and then I just decided, let's extend the tree a little bit. Down here you do have pumpkins. Now this is charted in, let's see here, Classic Colorworks and Weeks Dye Works, but they do provide a DMC alternative. The thing is with the pumpkins, and sometimes Prairie Schooler does this too, they like to make brown pumpkins when it comes to the DMC shade sometimes. So one of the DMC colors I do really like. The other one I need to finagle. I might basically take a couple of shades of the oranges, one of a deeper, maybe one of a brighter, and mix them together. And I might just do all the pumpkins in that color. We'll see. In that color combo, or I may switch it up. I don't know yet. But because I'm not sure, I decided to skip that part of the pumpkin pile and go to the house. It's a big house. It goes over quite a bit. So I figured no time like the present, might as well start stitching it. And that'll be the whole of the size of the pattern. Again, you'll see with the border, I had started it and then stitched off of it. This one was an easy one. So I did do extra. I think I was doing car stitching at one point, and it was something easy to remember. But I just do a little bit as I go along. I think I did a strand of the black. I did use anchor black with this rather than 310. I did a strand this week with it as well. So that's where we are. So this is what's so interesting. These are both fall colors, but in such different ways. So depending on what kind of vibe I'm really craving, whether I want some bright or whether I want some more that's a little bit more subtle, I have the options and I love it. I love how the same subject, depending on what shades of colors you use, can look so different, but both can be recognizable as that subject. So I really enjoyed stitching on this. So I might continue this week. You know, I'm very kind of fluid and go with the flow when it comes to my plans. So I don't know yet if I will continue with this one, but I liked getting a little bit more extra time in on this one because it had definitely been neglected for quite some time. All right, that's it for current projects that I have been working on that I've already started. Now let's talk starts. This first one, I was again afraid to start because it calls for doing it in one strand. And until I had watched the video from Needlebug, I just was totally intimidated with it. Now that I had gotten some one strand loop start stitching in, I said, that's it, I'm starting it. I love it. And it is the Maryland Blue Crab pattern from Ardith Designs. Now I bought this when it was a kit. You got the pattern. She had hand dyed the fabric. So there is a piece of fabric you got with it, and it's an 18 count Aida, because a lot of times with these kits, they're usually the higher counts, and I don't stitch in that. So I was super excited to see that it was 18 count. And she had dyed some silk, first time using that. And then this is had been finished as a pillow. So she provided backing material, provided this little pin and all that kind of stuff as well. I did see, I went on her site, you can buy the pattern in and of itself. I don't know if it's a straight PDF or a printed pattern. I'm not sure on that one. And she also had, she had 7 left as of this morning, the pattern and a skein of the floss, the silk, of the hand-dyed floss. So if you wanted to buy it that way and use that floss, you would just have to do your own fabric. And in her newsletter, which just came out, she has the second one in the series. I believe it's a blue heron. Super excited. I don't know when that will be available. She has a flamingo, a Christmas flamingo coming out today. And I don't know if the blue heron was coming out today as well. I'm going to have to check. But again, with the kits, she generally has a limited amount of them. With this one, when that was done, she did offer the pattern as well. So I did it. I jumped in. Because it was silk and there was a limited amount, you don't normally on 18 count, I would do 2 strands. But because it had called for 1 strand, I was like, I gotta only do 1. I'd be afraid otherwise, and I'm still afraid I'm not gonna have enough because I don't know if I'm using it right. But here we go. It's not much. You can't see much of anything at the moment, but that's okay. So this fabric is an 18 count, and it was dyed by Amanda May, Ardith Designs, and this is the silk. Now, I gotta tell you, the silk is lovely. It's really nice. But again, it's not like, oh, if I had the money, I would stitch just in silk. Nah, I still like my DMC. Again, lovely, but not like the end-all be-all that changes my world altogether. Maybe with higher counts and the smaller holes, but with this, yeah, so that's it. I'm still trying to get used to the more singular X's because it is a variegated, but I did do the single strand loop start. Again, in this I am cutting nice short lengths because I'm really afraid to, if it frays, I've lost some. And obviously this is a hand dyed, so I'd be afraid I'd run out and then I'm not sure what I would do. I think what I'm gonna do, because I am worried potentially of just maybe using too much in other spots, I'm gonna do the entire crab and then I'll work on the elements and then the border. So if I run out at any time, I can find something else like for the border that would be compatible or whatever, so on and so forth, just in case. But that's my first start. It doesn't look like much, but that's a lot of counting. And you know I'm not usually a center starter, but again, with something like this, distinct size, cut, and idea, I did start from the center. And this is the first Ardith design I've done. Really lovely chart. And not only does she use the little arrows, but then she has little lines that come down from the arrows. So finding the center was the easiest center I have ever found in a pattern ever. So I did start totally center on this one, and then I'll work my way out. But once I get to the claws and things like that, it'll be a little bit faster because this whole guy, there's just a lot of counting. So I'm working on it. But that's where we are. Super excited. I like that pattern a lot. And it's been calling to me. So once I got that one strand down pat, I was like, that's it. There's no stopping me now. Now this is an interesting one. And this is where I am doing a complete experiment in color. I'm so excited to see what the two results are going to look like in the end. This is a pattern that last year a stitchy friend had sent to me, and I have debated I might keep all of the stitches when they're finished from Stitchy Friends in its own. I don't know if I'll keep it in its own book and then talk about the friends and whatever, or depending on what the theme is, put them in. But I want to make sure that I talk about the Stitchy Friends who have along the way been so generous and sent me patterns to stitch, because I think about them when I'm stitching those patterns. This one was Plum Street Samplers, Summer in Nantucket. Yes, beachy, you name it, beach, nautical, it's my jam. Love it, love it, love it. And I originally started it, and I forgot to check. See, this is where I know who the fabric's from, but I don't know the exact color. I started it and did it originally on 18 count summer, I think it's Summer Storm, now that I think, because I think I looked at it. I'll double check. I'll double check on that. I think it's Summer Storm from To Die For Fabrics. I know it's To Die For Fabrics. She has a lot of shades of blue, so I could be completely wrong on that. So this is how I started it. I preferred the blue to the gray, which is what's here, but it's still along the same similar lines, similar scheme. And it's gonna look beautiful. Well, I was feeling the call. I was looking at this pattern because I was looking at things to stitch this week. And I said, what if I did this, especially after doing some work with Cinnamon Stars and Betsy's Autumn, I was feeling those golds. And I said, well, this is, you know, a summer pattern. What would it look like with a gold type of background instead? Because I've thought about this kind of gold color for, I do have summer at Hawk Run Hollow. I think I'm going to do it in a 20 count though, as opposed, and I don't have anything 20 count that big in that color. So I haven't started it or done anything with it yet. And I said, I'm curious what this would look like, these colors on a gold. So I restarted it. And that's where we are with that. So this is 18 count Gilded by Mystic Fabrics. And what I'm going to do, because I was originally like, do I stitch one and leave the other or what? I'm going to stitch them both. I'm going to stitch both colors, and I'm going to see a little experiment of how colors will look. So right now they are exactly the same. I have the same amount stitched on both of them, and you're going to get a completely different vibe from the colors on each one. This one totally cool vibe, this one a much more warm vibe. And I'm so excited to see them both completed and see how they look and really explore color, because that will help me going forward when I'm picking colors for other patterns, depending on what I'm looking for. So this is a fun experiment that I'm going to give a try. And yes, I'm going to stitch both of them side by side so that as we go along, we can see what's happening with each color shade. So that's exciting, at least for me. But then I love color. I love everything color and how to manipulate it and exploit it. So that's it. That's the stitching. That's quite a bit. I have to say I did get quite a few projects touched this week and super excited to see some progress on some of them. Plans as usual. I definitely think Cobblestone Crossing will continue. The rest will be all up in the air. I usually try to keep at least one, usually 2 or 3 that I've continued from week to week until they get finished. Cobblestone Crossing obviously is the closest to a finish, so that's the one that I will really continue to focus on each week, and then the rest will just be a mystery. So you got to come back for more. I got one piece of happy mail, and I wanted to say thank you. And I haven't had a chance, I just got it, so I haven't had a chance to say thank you personally through email or whatever. I will, don't worry. But look at this beautiful card. Look at that color. Speaking of color, look at that color combo. Awesome. Again, look at all these things. I love looking at things and coming up with color ideas. Really big in the card making world and the scrapbooking world. And you'll see them all over Pinterest. It's all over the place, where you'll see a picture of something, whether it's nature or food or whatever, and then the colors on the side. So it's a great way when somebody isn't sure, okay, I want to make this card or scrapbook this page, and this is a predominant color. What other colors look like nice with it? And that's all over the paper crafting world. And so every time I see something, I look at it in the form of color and see what colors go. And I love that. So that's something I'm going to keep in mind. And of course, it's beachy. I'm only going to say, and I generally will only say first names, but because I haven't asked specifically, Kim, thank you so much for the beautiful, beautiful card. And I don't have any of these, so I'm super excited to try. It's a needle threader. And look at the little bee. I'm so excited. I have never used a needle threader, but I am really interested to try because I'm a thread licker, and then, you know, the whole past year and a half, you know, you don't want to be doing that. And I was using kind of, I'd have water by me and try, and because I need something to help me thread my needle. Otherwise I can't do it. So I'm super excited. If there are any tricks or tips to using a threader, please let me know, because I have no idea how to use it exactly. But I am going to take full advantage of this and give it a try. I am so excited. So thank you so much for that. I appreciated that. It was such a nice piece of mail that we just got. I had just gotten it in the last mail batch. We'd forgotten to pick up our mail, so I didn't open it right away until this morning. But I'm so excited. Thank you. All right. I have a little bit of shopping. A little bit, not too much. What will be interesting now is, depending on where I am, things might be coming to one state and I might be in a different state. So there might be weeks where I don't necessarily, unless I'm able to remember to switch an address depending on where I know I'm going to be. There might be some weeks where I have no shopping because it went to the wrong place, and then other weeks where there'll be an accumulation if I'm showing some weeks worth. So we'll see. It's all just kind of a learning curve. I just got it in yesterday's mail that I opened this morning. My coloring, I don't want to show you, not Coloring Cotton. This is Fortnite Fabrics. This is the August, and I get the sampler. Is that what it's called? Subtle sampler patterns. This is 18 count Ada. So if you don't want to see, and I'm sorry if I already spoiled it for you, look away. And that's what it looks like. Lovely, lovely color. Okay, it's down. I chose the subtle samplers for this Fabric of the Month Club because I don't have a tendency always to buy those, and I wanted to kind of shore up my stock of them. Now, I do get the small thing of it, so it's not like I could do a giant, it's a 1/8, so it's not like I could do a giant pattern with it, but it's a little something that, and it's the same thing with Coloring Cotton, which I'm going to show you next. I only get the 13 by 17 inch. So again, I couldn't use these for giant, but I do a lot of smaller patterns and they fit just nicely. So look away again if you don't want to see the Color and Cotton August Fabric Club. And I get whatever. It's so interesting. I don't know how Color and Cotton does it because I'll see other people's. I don't mind being spoiled. And their colors are completely different than mine. So I don't know how they decide what gets sent where. So you may get a completely different one than me anyway. But look away if you don't want to see it. It's called That. And look at super pretty. They really do choose some pretty colors for their fabric of the months. Okay. So that's done. That's gone. Now the last bit I placed an order with 123 Stitch, a small one, not a very big order, and I got most of it. I think there's one piece that was not available. I guess they're moving warehouses, so right now things are coming piecemeal. It'll probably come when I'm not here, but that's all right. It'll just sit in the hold mail until I get back, and I'll have a nice little surprise. But most of what I ordered did come. Ooh, excuse me. I did get anchor because, you know, I always pick up some anchor floss. I like the anchor and the skeins. I know Michael's does have the spools, and I have some of that, but I also like the skeins. So I do throw in a few every time I place a 123 Stitch order. You don't need to see that. Then I picked up a couple other things. I picked up, remember when I was looking at the magazine, the Halloween magazine? I had seen this on the back. I thought this was super cute. It is called Enchanted Moon from Mill Hill. It's in the bag. I'm not going to take it out with all the stuff. Super cute. I may or may not have bought an extra one, so maybe down the road, as we get closer to Halloween, you may see this in a giveaway. But this one, I thought, again, I definitely want to try some Mill Hills with the beads as a nice little entryway into beading. So I have a Christmas one, and I have this one. So one of these days, I forget, the stuff is in a different spot, the Christmas one. Excuse me. Oh, tickle in the throat. And so I always forget when I'm starting something, I forget that I have it. So I got to put these somewhere where I can see them better. I picked up a little bit more of Pictures Plus Jade because I love it for my Prairie Schooler Santas. And then I picked up, excuse me, you know when you get that tickle and then you're just coughing. I've got a couple of these, and so I've been slowly building up the stash. The Nora Corbett, and this one's called Electra, and it's from the Bewitching Pixies. I have a couple of them, and so I just keep adding, and one day I'll start stitching them. I know that Helen D is working on one of them right now. I actually do have that pattern, so I love the color of fabric she's stitching it on, and I'm watching it come alive. So excited to give it a try as well. So these haven't gotten started yet. I'm still working on my Bells of Ireland from Nora Corbett, and so I wanted to get that one done before I started one of these. But that's like the famous last words, isn't it? For so many of us, that we want to finish something before we start something else. And the next thing you know, you've started something else. So we'll see. But I'm just slowly collecting these every once in a while. I have them in my wish list, and I look through when I do a 1-2-3 order, and sometimes I throw one in. So that's that. And that's it. That's all the shopping I have. I don't know what's coming. Not a lot, but a few things. So we'll see along the way. Let's talk giveaways. Real quick, I have not heard yet. With giveaways, you know I give 2 weeks. So 1 week has been up, so I'm giving another week for this. Tina Stitches, you'll see your name is in here. I'm all set to send the Antique Birds and Cages to you. So Tina Stitches, you have 1 more week to get back to me. Please send your name either through Gmail or Instagram. I had somebody find me on Etsy. Etsy will probably go on vacation, but you might still be able to contact me that way. However you find a way to contact me, let me know, and I will send this to you, please, with your address. So 1 more week, Tina Stitches. So that's that, and I'll put that with the names in case I have to repick. This week's giveaway is for this sage fabric. I think it's 28 count, not 100% sure. That was what I thought I counted when I did the holes. It's somewhere along those lines. And we talked about sleep. So I'm sorry that many of you are having trouble sleeping, but it makes me feel better that I'm not alone in that. There are so many of you that also have that same trouble. What did I see? I have a tendency, and I can fall asleep, it's staying asleep. That's always the killer for me. A lot of people had mentioned if they can't sleep, they get up and they do something. And I've never done that. I've always resisted saying, I'm gonna go to sleep again. And sometimes I lay there forever. So that is definitely something I'm going to try. For those of us who get extra warm at night, somebody had mentioned there's a bed fan that you put in the bed somehow that cools you off. Genius, and I need to look into that. And a few other things. Read the comments if you'd like to see. There are people that have, I think some melatonin has been used, and a few other ideas and things. Obviously meditation, prayer, people listening to audiobooks or podcasts and putting them on a timer, which is genius too, and things like that. So look through if you are interested in seeing some ideas from other people. And I am going to definitely take it all under advisement and see what I can do for sleep. All right, so who's getting this? Let me pick a name now that I've talked enough and separated everything. There's only one. I have a tendency to pick more than one. Okay, let's see if I say it right. Kim Rupe. I'm going to put it maybe against the fabric. Excuse me. Kim, congratulations on winning the fabric. As I mentioned before, you have 2 weeks to get back to me. My Gmail account is below if you'd like to send me an email. Instagram is down below if you'd like to send me a DM. If you sent it and you don't hear from me in a couple days, please either in the comments say something or reach out to me again, because for some reason, there's been a few cases where people have sent me info and it didn't come through, and it's not even in like the spam or anything, which I do check just to make sure. So Kim, congratulations, and get back to me and I will send that to you. I'm going to put that right there so you're all set. Now, I'm going to take this out of the container because it's not so tightly stuck in there that we need to keep it in the plastic. This week, because I've been feeling the pull of autumn, I'm starting to pull out some autumn ideas for all of you. And this week's giveaway is from Silver Creek Samplers, and it's Autumn Harvest. I actually have this pattern myself. I haven't stitched it yet. I do have the DMCs for it. It is charted in both DMCs and Gentle Arts. So obviously you have your option of which one to stitch in. I think it's super cute like this. I wouldn't finish it like that. I would just keep it straight. And in fact, what you can't see, I think it's over here, right, is there's actually a house on the hill on this side of the word autumn. So there's extra stitching that you can't quite see with this one. It's not huge, 84 by 34. So for example, if I was to do it on my 18 count, it would be 4.62 by 1.87. So you could put this on so many things depending on what you wanted to. So it's a great option. So with the giveaway, we have a question for everybody, and then we have a word for those who want the giveaway. The question for everybody actually this week, because as we're getting into fall, and I love some of the scents of fall, what is your favorite smell? And it doesn't have to be a fall smell. Like, what is there something that you smell and it is, whether it's nostalgic or it's just something you love the smell of? I love like the fall spice smell. That is, I love that smell. And that feels nostalgic to me. I also like, I like the smell if you're walking around the neighborhood of the grill. That's always one that screams summer to me. Before my allergies really started to bother me, I always liked the smell of the fresh cut grass, but now it kind of equates more allergies. So I don't always love it quite as much as I used to. But is there something that, and it could be, you know, something that's candle-wise, it can be a spice or whatever. I'm just curious, what happened? What is your favorite scent? I don't wear a lot of perfume, so I don't have a favorite scent there. Most things are just more, and I used to be a candle person. I really don't light them much anymore. But I used to have some favorite scents there as well. But I'm just curious, what is your favorite smell? And that's for everybody. If you'd like to be put into the giveaway, say the word apple, because there is an apple cart over here. So you answer the question, and then when I go to write the names down, I go to the comments and I search the word apple. And it doesn't have to be in the comment or in the answer to the question, just somewhere in the comment itself, I should say. It doesn't have to be in the answer to the question or in a sentence, just somewhere in the comment. And I will search the word apple, and that just pulls out it pulls out the names. If your favorite scent is apple pie, for example, or apple something, but you have this pattern or don't want this pattern, just leave me a little discreet. Please don't say giveaway, but somehow or other let me know so I don't put your name in the giveaway. But otherwise, if the word's apple there, your name will be in the giveaway. And that reminds me, I haven't said the rules in a long, long time. Please don't say giveaway. Please don't say free. Please be at least 18. And while I don't check to see if you're a subscriber, I would really appreciate it if you were a subscriber. But you don't have to be a public subscriber. I don't know if you're a private subscriber. I'm just going by your word. And I just would appreciate it. So that's that. That's the rules. All right. I figured this one might be a little bit longer because I knew I had a lot of stitching to talk about. That's it for the stitching. If you don't want to hear the life stuff, then have a fantastic week, and I will see you next week. Or next video, whenever it is. Hopefully next week. So yeah, so life, I had totally forgotten when I talked to you at the end of last week's video, I had forgotten the fact that we had a hurricane heading up the coast, and they were saying hitting us squarely as for those of you who are in New England, especially southern New England, E-Weather, and he's going to have an app soon, and he said the app is going to be completely free. I follow him on Facebook now. He is the only person I will watch for weather. And I will continue when I'm in Delaware, even though he doesn't give that. He talks about storms and tracks, so I'd be able to see things even in Delaware. But he kept ticking this storm, Henri, a little more west, a little bit more west, a little bit more west, until probably by Friday, if you looked at the picture, it was going to go smack dab right through Connecticut. So it was like, great, we're going to lose power, we're going to lose Wi-Fi, and they had said after the storm, we would be having a nasty heat wave, which we are, so that would just be lovely. So Saturday, you know, we did some prepping. I didn't go to the grocery store. Mo and I it was just the two of us, and we just decided, you know what, we got lots in the pantry. We can make do. We are not hitting the grocery store. The grocery stores will be open the day after the storm, 2 days after the storm. So as long as there's not trees blocking the streets, then we're fine. So we did not do that, but we did the other prep stuff, you know, got things ready, flashlights, and I think we have a little lantern that, you know, runs by battery or whatever. So all that kind of stuff. We got all that ready just in case, made sure everything was charged. And then Sunday was a weird day. It started raining, and, you know, the storm had kind of slowed. So when it was supposed to be here, it wasn't. And then it rained and rained a lot. And then the storm kind of changed a little bit where it was going to hit, and we didn't know if we were getting the wind. So it was kind of one of those days where we couldn't do anything because we didn't know when this thing was going to hit. And there was a lot of flash flood warnings. But I was kind of unsettled because I just wanted it to come and be done. Like, I hate that waiting when you say, okay, a blizzard's coming, you know, when they do their nor'easters or whatever. I hate that 12 to 24 hour period beforehand. I just want to get it done and deal with the aftermath. So Sunday was a really strange, unsettling sort of day. I did some stitching, but I couldn't really settle much. We were very, very lucky, and it hit Rhode Island more than it hit, and parts of Connecticut down closer to Rhode Island. but with us, we got very little wind. The trees would sway a little bit, and we have lots of big trees around us. So believe you me, when I hear about heavy winds, I'm always worried with the trees. But we lucked out. And what was funny was Monday, the rain was much worse when it came kind of floated around again. And the rain was much heavier, much worse that day. So I think there were chances for flash floods again. In fact, one corner of our yard, and we never get, standing water in the yard, because so much came at a short period of time. For a bit there was a bunch of standing water. It drained fine, whatever, and it was the corner, so it was nowhere near our house to worry about, water coming in the house. But we got a lot of rain, so I could see where some places would have some flooding because a lot came down at once. So Monday was actually worse for us than Sunday. But we kept our power, thank goodness. We had just bought Shamrock Needs Special Food, which is a frozen kind of food, and then we take it out as we need it. We had just stocked up because we'd be taking it down to Delaware with us. And I was like, of course, that's when we'd lose our power and all of it would go bad or whatever. But luckily that didn't happen. We have been in a nasty kind of heat wave. It's not necessarily 100 degrees. It gets up to like 90, but it's very, very, very humid. I haven't been outside yet today. Mo took the dog out. Oh, I did go out with him very shortly, but for a small period of time, but not enough to really notice. Yesterday, you couldn't breathe. You stepped outside and there was just no air to breathe whatsoever. I would never talk about not being able to sleep normally. If I am warm and uncomfortable in any way, I don't sleep. So if we had lost our power and our air conditioning, I would not have slept a wink this week. Unless it was sheer exhaustion, because I just don't do well in the hot, humid kind of weather for that. But so we've been staying, we've gone for some morning walks before it gets really nasty, but for the most part, we've been kind of staying in. I've been running some errands, air-conditioned car, air-conditioned building, the whole bit, so that I haven't really spent a lot of time outside because it's just not very nice, to be honest with you. So the kids are a week into college. Megan, of course, forgot stuff that we have to bring to her that we're going to take a detour on our way to Delaware. Connor, though, seems to be, knock on wood, he had forgotten some soap, which we ordered from Amazon and shipped it to him because they had no soap in the bookstore. They have some stuff for things that the kids forget and so on and so forth, but he's like, there was no soap. I said, oh, all right, I'll send you some. It's easy enough to do that because he has no car on campus, so he'd have to find a place and walk to it, and we don't know Worcester yet. I'm sure there's stuff. I'm definite there's stuff, but this was just easier until he gets kind of the lay of the land and everything. But other than that, so far, we talked to him a couple days ago and he hadn't said anything else that he was completely missing. He did laundry at school for the first time because he was afraid he was going to run out of clothes. He was never afraid here, and we've always had our kids do their laundry for the last, halfway through high school, we start to say, okay, you're in charge of your laundry, because I always wanted them to go to school knowing how to do their laundry. And so it's not like he's never done laundry before, but he would wait until he had nothing to wear before he'd do laundry here. But there he was like, I'm afraid I'm going to run out of clothes. I'm like, you do realize that you don't have to wear everything so it's still work in his progress there. But hey, it's a learning curve. Other than that though, we'll see what's happening. But yeah, they got through a week. He hasn't said, that's it, I'm done, I don't want to be here anymore, so that's a good sign. Other than that, I think we're going to head down to Delaware and hang out there for a little bit. And so next week, I might be coming at you from my blue room rather than the lilac color walls that you have here. This room was actually this color, and I never did get around to painting it. I happen to like shades of purple, and it's a light purple. So it just stayed. I never changed this room. I changed most of the walls in this house, and we added color, but this one already had a shade of color, so we never touched it. It's been like this since we bought the house. But anyway, other than that, I don't know exactly what's going on this week. Some stitching and always that good stuff. So I do like to do the stitching, and I guess I'll know more about what's going on when I talk to you next week. Like everything else, it's kind of a surprise. So I hope you've got lots of good stitching in while I went for an almost hour video. We talked a lot today, and I really enjoy spending time with you and talking stitching, so I hope you enjoy it as well. If you stayed this long, I figure you do. I hope you're well. I hope you're safe, taking care of yourself. You know, that's all we got. That's basically the best we can do right now. You know, take care of ourselves, take care of others, and be safe. So with that, I'm thinking of you. I hope you get lots of stitching in, and until next time, happy stitching.